On this loverly day, you geometers will be writing and using equations of circles. By way of review first, you do not need to write this down. But if we had a linear equation, remember that linear equations are equations that graph straight lines. And the most common way we wrote it was like this: y equals mx plus b. Tell me y equals mx plus b. So this clearly, and by the way, if you were graphing, m tells you how to move. That's the slope. You do not need to write this down. And b tells me where to begin, and that would be my y-intercept. So two components to tell me how steep and where it begins. Well, we're going to look at the exact same thing today, but instead of drawing straight lines, we're going to be drawing or analyzing circles. There are two components to a circle. Two components to a circle. Number one, we need to know where the circle has a beginning, a center. And the next part we need is how far from that center should I wrap around the center? And that's the ugliest circle in the history of the world. All right, come back. Okay, so there are two components. Number one, there is my center. Boop, right there. Where does the circle live? Second, how much space does it take up because of the radius around? The equation of a circle looks like this. It's going to look confusing, and yet it's also going to look familiar. First thing here, it's going to be x minus your h squared plus y minus your k squared, and all that equals r squared. So first off, we need to identify h and k. H and k are simply the center. H is the x value, k is the y value. Now, I do want to point out, it's the opposite of what you see. So notice here, I see a minus h, but I have a positive h here. I see a minus k here. It's a positive k over here. And notice here, r means radius. R means radius. But it's not what you see. It's going to be the square root of what you see. So let's practice it in a problem down here. So we have the equation that has the center at 0, 6. So that means 0 is my h, k is my 6. So x minus 0 squared plus y minus 6 squared all equals my radius squared. We're told what the radius is, 3.6. So the 3.6 is going to go here, and I'm going to square that. X minus 0 is just x, so that's why it simplifies there. Y minus 6 is y minus 6. So no change there. Y minus 6 is y minus 6. You don't have to distribute, you don't have to expand, just leave it as is. Over here, 3.6 squared, and you can just do that with a calculator. 12.96 is what you get. So here's your answer. Here is the equation of the circle. So looking at number 1 down below, we want to match the equation of the circle. But notice here, remember the shortcut here. We take the opposite of what I see inside. So that means the h value of my center is negative 2. The opposite of what I see here, I see a positive 3. The opposite is negative 3, so that's my k value. And remember, my radius is not that number, it's the square root of that number. So radius is 2. So to match that one up, no big whoop, we just go over there to find all my matches. So my first one is C. Please take. So let's look at the second one here. Well, again, take the opposite of what you see here, so that's a 2 for the x value of the center. This is a negative 5. And finally, my radius here is 3. So all I have to do is match that one up. 2, negative 5, and 3. So clearly F is going to be there. All right, now let's take a gander at finding the actual equation of the circle when we are given the radius and the center, or that we can find it real quick. So looking at number 1 here, I see what my center is. So my center is 0, 0, the origin. And my radius is just any point outside here and just finding the distance. And of course, we always want to find the easiest. Clearly, this right here might be one of the easiest points to count. 1, 2, and 3. So my radius is 3. Now when we substitute that in, notice that I am going to have x minus 0 squared, and that simplifies to x squared. Then I have a y minus 0 all squared, and that's going to simplify to y squared. And then I have my 3 squared, and that simplifies to 9. So here's my answer. Y squared, x squared plus y squared equals 9. And now let's look at number 4. Very similar, except there's nothing to interpret. All we have to do is jump straight to the answer. Notice I'm going to do the opposite of what I see there. So I'm just going to go ahead and put a plus 3 in, all squared. Opposite of what I see here, so y plus 5 all squared. And go ahead and just square this right here, because r squared is what goes next. So I'll just put a 25. No work to show, I just jump straight to the answer. Now this last one, I'm given the center, which means I can actually start with the equation. I can take the opposite there, and then add the y minus 7 all squared. So the question is, what belongs right here? What's my radius? So I have to, we're told that 4, 3 is on the circle. So if I find the distance between these 2 points, then that's going to be my radius, which I can square in just a moment. So how do I find the distance? Well, I'm going to use the letter r instead of d for distance. And remember, I'm going to subtract my x's. So 4 minus a negative 2, and I'm going to put all that in parentheses, and all that will be squared. Parentheses squared. Next, I subtract my y's, and that's going to go in parentheses and squared also. Plus in between, and radical here. So now when we simplify this, double negative is positive, 4 plus 2 is 6, so I can put a 36 right here. 3 minus 7 is negative 4, and squared is positive 16. And I'm going to put a radical around that. Keep going. Square root of 52. Now notice we're not asked to actually find the radius, so I'm not going to simplify that or anything. All I'm going to do is place that here and square it. So when I square a radical, notice that the radical and the square are inverses, so I'm just left with the radicand. 52 right there. And there we go.